call me Mystic Mac because I predict these things.
Jose Delgado takes on Nathaniel Wood this Saturday at UFC 321. And this is a step up in competition for Jose Delgado, who's looked like a man on fire since making his UFC debut back in February. Had a second round knockout on Dana White's Contender Series to make his debut over Conor Matthews, where he got a first round knockout, and then recently got a 26-second knockout over Hyder Amil back in June. So making the turnaround to take on the crafty veteran out of England in Nathaniel Wood, who is on a 2-fight winning streak. Recently beat Morgan Charrier back in March and Daniel Pineda before that. Had a decent fight against Muhammad Naimov. You could argue he should have won that fight. There was some fence grabs and I think there were some groin strikes in that fight as well. But, prior to that, had wins over Andre Fili, Charles Jourdain, Charles Rosa. Had a really impressive performance over John Castaneda back in the day. So Nathaniel Wood, very well-rounded, a lot of high-level experience. Only 32 years old, so in his prime, 21-6, great record. So going to be a stiff test for Jose Delgado, who is very well-rounded, very big for the division, 5'11", 73-inch reach, has a lot of versatile attacks on the feet, very rangy, very creative, good movement, good pressure, and has a lot of finishing potential. Also a jiu-jitsu purple belt, so has some decent wrestling we've seen with some good ground and pound, like we saw in the Dana White's Contender Series. But Nathaniel Wood, also a very good striker, jiu-jitsu black belt, decent wrestling himself. I'm gonna have to go with Jose Delgado in this one. I know he's the young up-and-comer, hasn't really fought the best competition as of yet. This will be a pretty stiff test for him, but he's very dangerous on the feet. He's got a lot of power, has a lot of weapons, knees up the middle, kicks to all levels, really nasty combinations, will switch stance, and has really crispy combos with the boxing, finds his openings on guys, and is just a finisher. I think he's been to like one decision, and that was earlier in his career. And I think it was just one career loss against a guy who's like 11-3 right now on the regional scene. So not a terrible loss. Hasn't really fought anybody yet, but that's a lot of fighters. Who have they fought? They haven't really fought anybody yet. Well, yeah, that's every fighter until they take a step up, and kind of put everybody on notice with a win. And I think that's what's going to happen in this one. Only been to one decision, so we don't really know how he reacts. Fighting somebody who is very good. Can't get him out of there immediately. If the fight goes into the third round, it's a very close fight. How does the gas tank hold up? How does the confidence hold up? And those are questions that we might find out in this one with Nathaniel Wood, because he is hard to get out of there. He is very good and very well rounded. But Nathaniel Wood, very good everywhere. Not the biggest finisher. He's a tactical fighter, but I wonder about his fight IQ sometimes and his ability to kind of get guys out of there after they're hurt. We saw that in the Pineda fight, was hurting him, dropped him several times, was battering his legs, had, many opportunities in that fight to get him out of there. Would go into the guard when he should be like having him stand up so that he can finish him. Saw that in the Charrier fight, dropped him, jumped on top of him, went for like a guillotine, spent the rest of the fight on his back, or the rest of the round on his back. And you're taking on somebody like Jose Delgado, who, as soon as he has somebody hurt, he's swarming them and finishing them. And I feel like that's one thing that really sets him apart in this one, is just his tenacity and his killer instinct. We see Nathaniel Wood give up takedowns, going for guillotine chokes. He's one of those guys that sometimes I feel like he could be defending the choke, but he'll just kind of jump a guillotine and go to his back. And sometimes he'll use it to be able to get back up to his feet. But it's just kind of one of those things where I'm just like, I question some of the decisions that he's making in some of these fights. He also likes to kind of slow fights down. We saw that in the Charrier fight, where they're kind of just standing in front of each other, playing the feint game, exchanging a few kicks, exchanging a few strikes, both feet kind of planted as they kind of stare at each other. And I just feel like that's not something that you can do against a killer like Jose Delgado, who's all pressure. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage, as well as being 5 inches taller. So he's going to have the knees. He's going to have those kicks there. And I just feel like you can't stand there flat-footed as a stationary target against somebody like Jose Delgado, who's going to find his openings, who's got the length. And I feel like if he does get moving and he does get on his bicycle and starts moving on the outside, I feel like eventually he's going to kind of slow down and start to gas a little bit against the pressure fighter in Delgado. We've seen Nathaniel Wood kind of slow down in his fights, kind of peter out as fights progress. In his fight with Charrier, had a very low volume last 2 rounds. In his fight with Pineda, spent almost the entire third round on his back. not really trying to get back up. Didn't look like he had a lot of urgency to get back up. We know that he can be knocked down, he can be hurt. He was knocked down by Muhammad Naimov, knocked down by Andre Feely, John Dodson. So I feel like, the chin is going to be suspect in this one against Jose Delgado, who's got a lot of power on the feet. Wood's going to be the maybe on paper the better grappler with the jiu-jitsu black belt, but he can be taken down. He can be controlled. Was taken down by Charrier, Pineda, Naimov got him down 4 times. So that is an option here for Jose Delgado. We saw him get takedowns. We saw him have really good ground and pound just with his length and his ability to kind of slice through the guard, especially if somebody who's going to be significantly smaller than him. And I just think that Wood, although he is very well rounded, he is technical. I just think he's going to be undersized in this one. He moved back, he moved up to featherweight. I think it was like 2022, but he's only like 5'6", 69-inch reach. Going to be the much smaller guy versus Jose Delgado. He's got a lot of speed, he's got decent power, he's got really strong leg kicks, but I think that Jose Delgado is just going to get in his face early, pressure him to where he can't really get his leg kick going because he's on the back foot. And I think that Delgado will take advantage of his size, his strength, his length, his versatile attacks going forward and backward, switching stances, and I think he gets Wood out of there by KO. Thanks.